Hey, good evening. It is Monday night. It is August 1st. I hope everybody paid their bills on time. Tonight I have a special guest. I don't always have to have politicians on here. I like to have people that actually care about the place. And tonight we have a captain who is a very famous captain out here in the waters of Florida. Her name is Celeste Durage, sorry.
That's all
And exactly, I messed up like I thought I would.
right. You're lucky
Jeez,
first.
that's what I get for saying it the first time's wrong, and then it's just whatever. But yes, Celeste, awesome to have you here. Just real quickly, so people know, Celeste is originally from South Shore of Long Island, New York. She's been sailing the seas on the East Coast for a very long time. She's attended Berkeley School of Music in Boston. She's a well known chef, a musician, but most importantly, she is a confident captain that understands her waters very well. So I am very grateful to have you here, Celeste. I do apologize. I was supposed to be out on the water with her last week, but I had gotten COVID. So I missed this interview that she wanted to have with me. So we decided that it was better to have this live with people basically listening in because I have no clue what she's going to ask me, and she's going to put me on the grill right now, and I'm going to deal with it and answer it as best as I possibly can because you know what? Welcome to politics. You got to do this. So,
On the
Celeste,
spot.
I will let you take it from here in a moment. I know do have some questions for you later on with some very maritime stuff, but I'm going to let you ask me a few questions that, people want to know.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of people who have no idea who you are, and up until a couple of weeks ago, I was one of them. I'm going to come real clean and transparent, unlike the politicians, and say, we do our best out here, but if you don't know the questions to ask, you can't get the answers. So I I'm now traveling up the Northeast. I'm in Boston. Because of that, I did an early voting ballot mail in. And when I got down to the Commissioner of Agriculture box, I realized there were three names there. I had no idea who I was voting for. So I opened up and did just what you did. I said, "Who is this guy? Who?" The other two, I couldn't get any information. But when I opened up your site, I was like, "Whoa, check this out." He's right. We in the industry, the charter boat fishing industry, need you in office because over the last 25 years, I've had my license for 22 now. It's crazy how much time has gone by.
Right.
Um, I've seen the waters go from vibrant, brilliant blue colors and clean water, and you could stay in there all, day long. You never coughed or sneezed, and
Yep.
you could walk across the mullet, and whatever you threw a fishing line in, you got something that you could eat. And that is not true today. um I
No, it's
don't
kind of scary. It's kind of scary to think about some of this stuff that's being fished out of the water, how safe it is.
the
I'm
very
concerned.
thing. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But
Yeah.
no, it's one of those things that really concerns me, as especially as the next commissioner, because, I understand we have fish farms up in the Gulf that are, to me, those are pretty dangerous. They're ecological dangers, with the amount of fish poop, fish garbage, all that stuff that comes out of those. And I wish we could find a better solution because I understand that fishing is needed at a scale for consumers, but can we do something that's not going to harm the environment like the way that is? That's just terrible to me.
Right.
So, I look forward to hearing different solutions from people that care.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm not I don't know much about the fish farms. I'm just finding out that that's even occurring, and to me, that's insane. I mean, which the BP oil is still leaking out of the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico by Texas, and now we're farming fish, and we're still over farming or incorrectly farming the Everglades. And
Hmm.
I know we have similar ideas about how to fix that. I think hydroponics farming, I personally think, would be a nice bipartisan way to eliminate the the things that come together that make such a great environment for these toxic blue and red algae to blossom and ruin our waters. And and we wouldn't piss off the politicians in the process. The farmers, the sugarcane people, and everybody can still grow their stuff, but responsibly.
Correct.
Just like
That's
you're
all I
saying,
wanna
the fish should be grown responsibly. If you put too much people poop in one place, it's a problem. Too much fertilizer is a problem. Too much.
cow dung is a problem. Yeah, it's
Yeah, everything needs to be in moderation. So
balance, as I always say to
right,
people. I always talk about everything needs to be balanced, because when you have too much of one thing, it doesn't work. And
like
it,
like
yeah,
everything, like a sailboat on an ocean. I love to use my sailing analogies. So let me ask you. There's a couple of things that I saw when I was looking up here. Well, the hydroponic farming. Let's start there. What do you feel about it?
sure.
Or
I
how
love
are you going to fix the water?
it. Well, the water cleaning is one thing, and that's basically we have new technology that we're bringing on board. It's actually making its way here right now from Australia. What they call quadratic vortex cleaning, and basically what these things are off-grid water cleaning solutions. I'm looking to get as many of these things here as possible. I know the first focus is going to be Lake Okeechobee and controlling that, because I know it's getting close to the end of the year. And if that buildup is released, we're going to see massive kills, massive
Yeah, yeah.
dolphins, manatees, everything dying down in the southern part of Florida just because of this discharge. So I'm concerned. I want to make sure that we stop this, and I don't want to see it at all. Win or lose, I want to make sure that we clean these waters, and that is my goal. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do everything I possibly can to rescue this place, because, like you said, I remember when the waters were beautiful, blue. The beaches always all seem white and clear, and they look like crap now, and it's sad because we like most people don't understand. I actually grew up in Florida as a kid too, so I remember what it was like in the '80s when watching. We lived in Miami, and we would go to Miami Beach and see the beautiful beaches, and now it's all, the waters don't look the same. They don't. They look polluted. They look nasty. The bay doesn't look right. I lived in North Bay Village. That water since I lived there, I lived in North Bay Village, up until about 2013, 2014, that we lived down there. And I mean, the water changed when I was there for the 5-6 years that we lived there to what it is now. And I mean, it's not the same, and it's sad. And instead of doing something about it, we just keep ruining it. So I like to make sure that we do something about it. So to me, bringing in this technology is going to be key and important, because no other candidate is talking about solutions. They're talking about, oh, let's find some studies. Let's go put some scientists to go figure it out. No, there's no more figuring out. We know what the problem is. Just get it fucking clean already and get it done with. Like, do the job already. Somebody, please.
How can you? I don't know much about this technology. How does it work? Can you explain it?
It basically spins the water to a certain degree, and certain frequencies are thrown at the water, so the water starts releasing whatever elements are tuned into the particular frequencies. Every element in the planet has a particular frequency it's tuned at. So
Mm-hmm.
they basically throw a whole spectrum of frequencies at the water and knock out every single element in a particular order, so that way they could collect this trash. Once this trash is collected, that's how they make their money. So this is actually not going to cost the taxpayers a dime. It's actually going to be done basically for an exchange for the trash. And
Wow.
the trash is, what these things were originally built for was for mining operations. So they're supposed to be like, these are things I'm going to be working as well with people like Mosaic to get their act cleaned up, so that way they're not polluting our aquifer, because we have an issue with them in certain areas too. So like I said, my goal is to get as many of these machines here in the state of Florida to just do the job, get these waters cleaned up, and if done properly, they can actually clean the water in about 6 months, not 60 years like I've been told in the past. So
Oh,
it'll speed up the efforts that have currently been going on by 100-fold.
interesting. Is this cleaning the water like in the Okeechobee Lake, the fresh water, or is it cleaning the salt water?
Whatever we throw at it.
Wherever you throw. And you're
But it's,
pulling
but it's mostly for freshwater stuff, and that's why we're focusing on Lake Osh right off the bat.
right off the choke.
Yep,
Choke.
and then the waterways are going to be the next thing, including the in the Indian River Lagoon and places like that. That we got to restore the seagrass. So in order to restore the seagrass, we got to get the contaminants basically out of the water. And if we could figure out where the source of the contaminants is, put the machines closer to that to just start capturing it until it's dealt with and mitigate it wherever it's coming from. And that's the other reason why precision agriculture is going to be key for me, because precision agriculture is how we teach our farmers how to farm better without creating so much runoff. And they don't want to create that runoff. It costs them money. That's wasted. That's basically money down the drain for them. So especially with the inflation, gas prices, all that stuff is expensive, and a lot of these farmers are not seeing the price increases that people are seeing at the market. That's not, the farmers aren't the cause of that. It's the middleman. These farmers are still paying and charging people basically the same amount, so it's not their fault. So yeah, we need to take care of this stuff. The technology is now available. It wasn't available a few years ago. So I know most people ask me, like, where is this coming from? Well, luckily I have friends that have access to this stuff, because that's all they focus on is environmental projects. So he's made me aware, my buddy Kenneth Harding, he's made me aware of different projects that are beneficial to people and to the environment, and that's all he wants to focus on, is that type of stuff. So to me, that's awesome. And I admire people who are focused on saving the planet. And, like another person that I talked to, Garrett Stewart, aka Captain Planet, here in Florida. I mean, he's amazing. He does some amazing work, and I would love to continue to fund his projects and continue to do the artificial reefs throughout the state of Florida, because I feel those are important. That's a key to keeping our planet clean, and just continuing that education that he has, that he teaches the children. And then, Betty Osceola, so much respect for her. I wish I could get more attention from the Seminole tribe. Basically they're my cousins, and I want to make sure I take care of them. They're my people. So I want to make sure that they understand that, to me, the land, the air, the water is sacred. So that's what I'm fighting for. I'm fighting to make sure that we protect these things. And it's not like I'm trying to come after the farmers either, because I'm not. I'm actually trying to teach them how to do things better, so that way they can continue doing what they do, make more money. And especially with sugar, we're talking about stopping the burn. And most people freak out because they're like, oh my God, you're going to make them do these things. Well, at the end of the day, that burn that they're burning they're burning money, because we could turn that into a fuel source.
Sure.
And that could actually be the biofuel industry that Florida needs, and could create a revenue stream for us too.
Explain why they burn. Can you explain why they burn?
So they actually do that as a way to harvest the plant, and all it is just so the guys don't cut themselves. Well, they haven't had human cutting of this stuff in a long time, because they use machines to basically cut down most of your sugar cane nowadays. So for these machines, it's just a little switch of a metal piece on the machine that is basically cuts that leaf off and dumps it into another truck.
Yeah.
They get annoyed because it's like, oh, we got to do this so much with the trucks, we have to have an extra truck there. Well, yeah,
so you can burn it, right?
have the extra truck there, so that way you can take it over to your burn facility that you already have on site, because Florida Crystals,
and generate some electricity.
Yes. Florida Crystal has a huge biofuel plant on site that powers their whole plant. I'm like, can you guys at least give it back to the people that you hurt for so many years? At least do that. I mean, I think it would be fair. I mean, it's not going to cost you a dime. I mean, can you run them out some cables and just plug them in? Please?
Yeah. And maybe you make a business out of it, even if you make it reasonable.
Look,
you got to give them something, right?
Yeah, you got to give them something, because at the end of the day, they've hurt people for so long that I'm like, look, you don't want no more lawsuits? Give them free energy, at least for a while. Like I don't
cheap energy. I mean,
cheap energy, something, but like do it. Stop messing around with these people and do some sort of reparation, because you've hurt them for. I mean, look, if you have to deal with 8 months of ash coming down on your head, that sucks. And I can imagine the amount of lung problems people have from this stuff. So, I look forward to being able to, basically put an end to that practice. Now, I know most people will be like, oh, but the burn program is needed up north and other places. It might not. We might actually be able to do some sort of goat task force to clean up all these forests and do all this job that, instead of burning, let's use natural ways of cleaning things up. But we got to explore what the possibilities are of doing some of these things. I know we can't completely eliminate it overnight. It's going to be a process. So I totally get that. I'm not dumb to that whole thing. Like, I can't just say, hey, we're going to stop it and that's it, done. No, there's going to be a transition phase, and I get that. But it needs to get done.
Yeah, start it.
Yeah, it's being done in Brazil 100%. Why can't we do it here? And we're supposed to be the first world country.
Yeah, right.
They're laughing at us over there.
Probably not first anymore. The memo hasn't gone out. But I remember when Charlie Crist worked his deal to put all the biofuel reed in to the sugarcane fields. He got rid of a bunch of the sugarcane and there was biofuel. Are we still growing biofuel reed? I don't know what it's called, but is it still there?
I mean, that plant is still there, but that's basically powering themselves.
And that's it. Okay.
They were supposed to create another plant, from what I saw on the paperwork, and somehow or another they lobbied themselves out of it. It was a mandatory thing that was supposed to be done by 2015, and then it just slipped by the wayside, and nobody has done anything. Okay. But I can't do anything about it. I would have to probably dig deep and see what happened. But if we just got to start pushing them to doing the right thing. It's not fair. It really isn't fair that they've done this for so many years, have gotten so much money, subsidies, all these things, and they throw their money around to just push people around and bully them. And that's not what, this is supposed to be, especially, when we're asking you to do the right thing. And it'll create another source of revenue for you. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to inconvenience you. Why? Because you got to get another truck in there, but you're going to make more money. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just another product you're taking, and you're taking somewhere else to get, right there to get processed.
Yeah. So how are you going to convince these guys? What do you think you have that the other guy doesn't have to be able to work with these people in a non bipartisan way and just make everybody happy and work together?
Well, I mean, they have to come through me for the burn permits. So that's number one. You kind of use that against them and work with them and figure out, let's get to the table and let's talk. How can we make this happen? And I always say, yeah, we're going to stop at day one. Well, yeah. We are. We're going to stop at day one, force them to come to the table, and we discuss what is the process to make this happen. Without us coming to a decision here and scheduling this for this to stop, we're not going to go anywhere until this gets done. So that's my thing. We have to do business 101, basically. We have to bring them to the table, and we have to talk. And I know a lot of the times they've wanted to talk to people, but because of the Republicans, we've gotten nowhere. So we need people who actually care. And it's important that not only do we elect a Democrat for this position, but we elect as many Democrats as we can up and down the ballot, especially for the governorship and especially for the CFO and the attorney general and the commissioner. So, these positions are super important. And if we could get the right people in place, we could actually get some stuff moving in the right direction that can help the people of Florida, not hurt.
Everybody, right? The people and the corporations. I really think sometimes the Republicans are shooting themselves in the foot. Some of the things they're doing that, well, I won't get into the immigration thing. That's another world. But, we need people who want to work and do the things that need to be done. And we've always relied on immigrants. And, I'm getting off course here, but you know what I mean? It's like, if you want to run, we're both business people, right? We're in the restaurant business.
Yep.
You got to have the tier of people doing all the parts and pieces together. Otherwise, you shoot yourself in the foot, and you can't ruin the thing that you're trying to sell. If you're a fried chicken house and you start serving crappy chicken, well, you're going to go out of business. And if you're, growing fish out in the Gulf and they're turned into junky fish, then you're going to go out of business. Same with the vegetables and or whatever, the sugar cane. I don't know. It just seems to me the corporations would want to do this.
You would think, and you would think that they want to take advantage of a new revenue stream and really push us towards
Yeah.
a better. I mean, look, we're having so many issues with pricing of gas companies, all those things. It's basically them controlling the monopoly and not wanting this to work. But we need to make this work. We got to just really stop and think about the future. And you know, like I see people that like have these big yachts and go out on the water and not realizing the amount of pollution that they're dealing with in their waters that doesn't need to be there. You know, like you can enjoy your waters and not have to worry about getting some bacterial infection because of you going into the water. You know, I know people getting sick from going into the bay over in North Bay Village area. Like this, just it's unnecessary and can be avoided if we were to just take care of the place.
Yeah, yeah. And well, I spend my time on yachts, not so much motor yachts, but sailing yachts. And as sailors, we are already employing for many years now alternative energy. You know, you unplug from the dock and you're off the grid, and you make your own power. You deal with your own poop. You deal with your own garbage. You people who cruise grow vegetables hydroponically on a boat. You know,
Mhm.
you just we were already doing the solar and wind, and there's so much to learn from the maritime industry.
No,
Um,
there is, and there's a lot of respect for that too, because you know, like if you ever seen Waterworld, like what do you do? How do you survive out there? You know, what
yeah,
can you do?
yeah, it's totally doable. Do it all the
Yeah.
time. I've been there. I did it. Uh,
Are you growing potatoes out there?
you could hydroponically.
Pull a Matt Damon on Mars, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, I love that movie. Yeah, that's it. And yes, you can do it on a boat.
There you go. Make use of your own fertilizer, right?
That's right. That's right. Um, what else can I ask you?
Oh no.
Don't stop. Don't stop. I was
There you
I was thinking a couple of questions I saw on another page, Balladopedia, whatever that is. Um, what about your previous experience? All these things that you've done in your life, you're telling me you're like me, you can't stop in reinventing yourself. So how do you pull all that together? You got something in your head that you can just tell people real quick? How's it going to help you be the best
You
commissioner?
know what? Having all this experience and being able to understand people because I've been there and I've done that. And, you know, I've even been to a point where I was homeless in Miami at one point because I had somebody rob me and I was left with nothing. Thankfully for friends, I was able to basically get saved and get myself together again and move on and just keep moving forward. And that's the one thing I've learned here in Florida is you got to just be persistent. You got to just keep moving forward and you got to keep fighting. And you know, that's why I believe that we could win this and do what we got to do to help the people of Florida, because I believe people will understand my basically my journey and my fight and why I'm doing this, because it's not about me. It's this is something that needs to happen, something that needs to get done. If we don't take care of the planet, we're screwed. That's all
Yeah,
we got.
yeah. We live in a terrarium, uh, pretty much. You know,
Yeah, and we're messing it up because some people want more money in their pocket.
and our bodies are like I always say, your body is like a fish tank. It's got to be balanced. Like you said, it's got to be balanced. You know, it's mostly water. The earth is mostly water.
Your
And
chakras need to be aligned, the whole nine.
all that Zen crap, right? But it's true. Like music, like food, like all the things we've done, like sailing. Um, the wave goes up, the wave goes down. I say that all the time to my students. The wave goes up, the wave goes down.
And then
You
you
just got
puke.
to learn how to ride it, right?
And then you puke.
And then you puke, maybe on a bad day. On a bad day.
On a bad day, yes.
Did you have any questions for me, particularly, or?
I mean, you know what? I wanted to ask more about that whole thing that I was paying attention to that you posted. So, can you talk to me about this image and what it represents and how it affects Floridians in the upcoming hurricane season?
Yeah, well, we're in the season, so I'm a little surprised that we haven't had any action from this, but if we had like an El Nino pattern or something going on at the same time, this is actually showing the flow of the water coming through the Yucatan Peninsula. There's a natural to the western edge here. There's a natural stream of water. It's like the Gulf Stream. It goes up, and usually it ends right around the mid peninsula, and
Yeah.
it swings back down around over toward maybe Sarasota or something like that, and then it comes back down the west coast of Florida, and then catches that loop. As you can see, it hits the Gulf Stream, and then it's out into the Atlantic Ocean between the by the passing the Bahamas and on out
Mhm.
till you get up to Hatteras. But this one is really really tall. I mean, you can see it almost the outer swirls there are hitting the end of the Mississippi River, where Louisiana's sticking out there. That means that if there's any storm activity in that comes into the Gulf, it's going to slam right into it's going to decimate New Orleans for sure, and
Now,
probably.
now for comparison purposes, this is a visual from 2005, and this is a visual of 2021. So you could see that
Yeah,
there's way more activity now in our waterways than there was before, and it's all just due to this change of this Gulf Stream, basically giving
yeah.
that different change and just getting that much higher right into the New Orleans area. So,
It's the warmer water, and that's the climate. That's the climate, you know,
hmm yep.
changing. Maybe it's cyclic. Maybe it'll go away next year. But I think more or less we're seeing warmer waters. I'm seeing it's warmer here. It's warmer up here in the Northeast.
Oh, it's
Folks,
been disgusting today down here. I think did we hit? We might have hit 100 again. I
did
forget,
you hit
but
100? Wow,
yeah,
that's hardly ever happens in Florida. But yeah, it's starting to happen. The other thing I can tell you while it's on my brain right here, the last time I moved the boat up the intercoastal on the east coast of Florida, um, I don't know if people know this, but when the last 20, 30 years, we raised all the bridge heights of the fixed bridges to
mm,
65 feet so that sailboats and larger, barges and whatnot can get under there without having bascule bridges. Bascule meaning the bridges that open, you got to stop the traffic. There's more people living on the East Coast, so they put the fixed bridges in, right? And I had to wait for two bridges on one trip. I had to wait. Now it
oh,
was a new moon, it was not a new moon, but a full moon, and we had the weather coming, hitting the shore, so that pushes water in. But man, I had a 64-foot mast and change, and I couldn't get through. The water was not. I didn't have 64 feet of clearance under me. I had a 65-foot mean low water tide setting. So what does that tell you? The tides are rising, and all that money they spent fixing those bridges, they're gonna have to. They're gonna, it's not gonna get better next year.
no,
Yeah.
it's going to continue to happen and get worse. But
The,
one of the
the
reasons why I love South Florida is because I knew the tides were rising because I saw it firsthand. My car was getting basically inundated because we were driving through massive flooding problems on a new Indian River Drive over there, Indian Creek, whatever you want
Mhm,
to call it, on in Miami Beach.
mhm.
Just a small rain amount, and that thing's underwater.
Yeah,
So we didn't want to deal with that anymore, and that's one of the
yeah.
reasons why we moved to Central Florida is basically climate change.
Mhm. Get further away from the shore. Yeah. So
We're now on the ridge, so we know that even if this was to get all underwater, we'd be okay over here.
yeah, yeah. Move to the mountains. Oh, no mountains in Florida.
Well, that's what the ridge is.
Claremont,
The ridge
Claremont.
is the start. Claremont is the start of the Appalachian. It starts the
Yeah,
Appalachian chain. So
yeah.
basically, we're the start of the mountains.
Start of the mountains. It is beautiful up there. My parents lived in Spring Hill for years. They moved down in the late 70s and built a house over there. And my mom worked in for Pasco Hernando colleges, so she'd have to drive over to Dade City, and that drive across through Brooksville and into the interior was just gorgeous. I mean, there's rolling hills here in Florida. That's
And like somebody says, we have Mount Dora. Mount Dora is beautiful too. That's a really good area.
Yeah.
Even the hills. I mean, there's a beautiful set of hills in Mineola.
Huh.
Um, and then not too far away is also Ocala with some beautiful rolling hills and that horse country over there. That's gorgeous over there.
Very pretty. Very pretty there. Yeah, real nice. Well,
What else do we got to ask?
I don't know. I don't know. I was oh, here's one I pulled. I found what we talked about your messages. I was going to ask about key messages, but I think you've covered it. Unless you have any other campaign messages you want to put out and
I
tell
mean,
people
it's
about.
my whole thing is basically focusing on the environment, and I'm the only
Mhm.
one that's focused on it, with solutions, not just, hey, I'm going to talk about it and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. No, I actually have solutions. It's all about being no nonsense, no holds barred, just get it done and get it out of the way because it needs to get done.
Awesome. That's awesome. And are there any policies in place right now? Particular policies, public policies that you're really passionate about changing? Or
Hmm.
are
I
there
mean,
any particular things that we talked?
of course, we want to make sure that we get cannabis legalized. That's a
Mhm.
policy point that I'm definitely all for. But there's other policies that we need to fix. Like the medical program needs to get expanded. We need to switch from a vertical, what they call a vertical market to a horizontal market, meaning we could let mom and pops participate in the marijuana program instead of it all just being these luxurious hedge funds that had to pay millions upon millions of dollars, nearly billions of dollars to get into the program now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair. So we gotta completely go with a legal program that's going to work for everybody, not just the people at the top,
Mhm.
especially the people who were arrested and hurt for it. They'd be the first ones that it should be offering work to.
Mhm.
These people might have gotten arrested for drug dealing back then, but they kind of know the business. Like,
Yeah.
we got to, if they were just caught selling weed, then you did somebody wrong. If they were selling other drugs, then that's a different story. But
Yeah.
if you catch somebody with a plant, you caught somebody with a plant. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Uh, and I have issues with that too, especially because I know it. A lot of the war on drug really hurt the black and brown communities. It hurt the Latino community. It just, it really was a war against us as we see it. Because it really did target, people's families and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, so a lot of that is just the typical. But other policy points. I mean, I wish we could make things a little easier for some of the migrant workers that come here to work so hard for these people to put food on people's tables. I'd like to make sure that we take care of them because nobody else wants to do the job, man. These people
It's
are,
the foundation.
yeah,
And can you explain to me? I'll ask you because I'm ignorant here. What's going on with how do migrants come here now? I mean, the
well, that's the
game is
problem.
different.
The numbers have dropped dramatically because a lot of them don't want to risk coming to the state of Florida with such an administration that's targeting them.
Yeah.
You have politicians here in the state of Florida that are trying to implement a some ID program, basically trying to figure out who the migrant workers are to deport them. And so they're scared. They don't feel safe in this state, and I feel bad because we have farmers looking basically for people to help pick
Mm.
food off the fields, and food's going bad because they got no help or they got to figure it out. So you know we got to get things balanced out. People get mad at me when I talk about bringing robotics out to the field, that thinking that that'll take away from work from people. But I'm like, no, it's actually going to create more jobs because it'll actually look for people who are much more skilled to help out in the fields to be able to control these robotics and these drones and these things that are going to be the new technology, which should be the way. We should not be dumbing people down. We should be making them smarter,
Mm-hmm. You
giving
have
them,
engineers. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
giving them the opportunity to be better farmers through technology.
Hmm.
Oh, yes.
Do you think that there is well, I got to be careful. The immigration. Uh, can you sponsor someone as a farmer to come and work and sponsor people? Can you still
Yeah,
today? Is there a way to do that?
there is a way, there's a program, but like I said, there was not enough people coming through that wanted to participate because they were scared to participate, basically.
Yeah.
But you still have people that do participate and come over, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of and not scared. let them do what they want to do. Let them do their job. They're not, if they've checked out and they're fine and haven't committed any crimes or anything like that, we're good.
Mhm.
Let them do their thing, and they're putting food on your table, and not many people can say that.
Right. And would they get like a temporary work visa, right? It's they can stay for so many months or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable to me. I mean, the restaurant industry has gotten killed. I mean, and I say to people, I sponsored some of my staff. I mean, they stayed with us for over a decade. And
Hmm.
everybody was happy. They were getting mortgages, working for because they worked for me. I couldn't get a mortgage. I was self-employed, but all my staff was getting a mortgage. They did quite well. Their kids grew up and joined the service, and one of them did 3 tours in Afghanistan. I don't really understand I think it's fear. Fear makes people think, oh, these are bad people. They're criminals.
But they're not, and that's the whole thing that bothers me. Like,
Hardworking.
these are some, like, especially working in the restaurant business in New York, you run into everything and everybody, and all these different cultures. You
Yeah.
learn from these people, and it's amazing the things that they teach you. I just it's behooves people to learn from other cultures, but no, some people just want to be like, oh my god, it's this scary. Like, oh my god, they cook differently.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, no.
it's what we are as a country, the melting pot of culture. I mean, French fries, for Christ's sake, it's like French fries, tacos. You eat this stuff every day. It came from somewhere.
Pizza,
Yeah,
pizza,
pizza.
pasta,
I'm on my way to Naples,
spaghetti.
as a matter of fact, in September.
I mean, look at that. I mean, I love Chinese food here, sushi, all these things that we celebrate and eat, and we call basically American
Right,
cuisine nowadays because it's so common.
right.
But then we have people that are just complete a-holes and just don't want to participate. Like, so what do you do all day long? Eat mac and cheese? Like, come on, brother. You got to change that flavor once in a while.
Even
Yeah.
that's kind of from somewhere else. Mac and cheese was what was the chef? What's his name? The famous French chef.
Chef Boyardee.
No. Julia Child's buddy. I can't think of it. Anyway, he came up with mac and cheese for Howard Johnson's. He came up with that dish. It is bechamel. It's Mornay sauce, actually, bechamel with cheese melted in, tossed with pasta. I mean, that was a French dish. It's now American.
Americanized,
As
and it's
apple
been
pie.
pasteurized and destroyed.
Yeah. Put in a cardboard box. Just for
Oh,
you. Yeah.
just
Anyway,
add
uh,
milk. You're good.
I think we could probably go on and on all night long. Do you have any other questions for me, or is there something I should be asking you that I'm forgetting?
Well, I
Any-
don't know. I mean, what do people want to know about me? It's just, what would make you vote for me right away? What would be the one thing that would be like, all right, I got to ask this guy if he's all in on this or not?
Well, we covered it. It's the cleaning up the Gulf and understanding how important that is to our water system, is to our economy, and how much our farming practices at present affect how clean the Gulf is.
Yeah.
That little circle of things we keep talking about here. When I did my little chat with you, it took me about 10 minutes to go, oh, this guy, yeah, where'd you come from? I want to tell everybody that you've got our back. You need to. He's going to do this. He's going to change this. I think it's important that you tell everybody what the definitions are, and how to ask the questions. And the tourists come down here, they don't know that there's a problem.
No.
But I think you're somebody with your background, honestly, that you're going to be able to get the message out, and that you're going to be able to do something about it. So that's what I'd like.
And my heart's in the right place, basically. This is not for me. This is for my children, for everybody's children. Because it's their future. We're destroying it right now. And I want to say whatever we can and fight for it, because it's just sad to see people just destroy this place and not care because they're too busy making money. And it's not always about money. You can't, what are you going to do when you die? You can't take it with you.
Yeah.
So you can't eat it. It can't put food in your stomach. So it's just, yeah, greed needs to stop. The transparency needs to be there. We need to stop the corruption. We need to clean up the place. We need to start working together instead of working against each other.
Mhm.
There needs to be some sort of unity and really come to terms with the fact that we have destroyed this place and we need to fix it quickly.
Mhm.
Our aquifers up basically being our aquifers are in danger. The fact that we have saltwater intrusion and that we have because of the sea levels rising, and we have basically shitters sitting on top of it all day long with these septic tanks that at any moment anything could crack those things, and next thing you know we got poop all over our water, and
Mhm.
it's already there. I know there's leakage already going with some of these older systems.
Boca Ciega Bay,
It's
Pinellas
disgusting,
County.
but
Yeah.
yeah, and I want to make sure that we keep our aquifer waters safe, because I don't even think anybody's really taking a look at what the hell is down there and making sure that it isn't polluted. I want to make sure that it is clean and stays as clean as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I wish we could figure out how to get into the future faster and make some improvements, especially when it comes to septic tanks and things like that.
Mhm.
Getting rid of human waste is an issue. Most people don't realize how important it is and how crucial it is to society and doing it correctly, because if not, it can create a bigger problem.
Right.
So
And it should be, yeah. I mean, we already have the plants, the treatment plants, but I always wonder why do you just clean it? They scrape it out and throw it away, but that you can actually burn. You can create a thermal, what do they call them? Thermal generators that we can create energy with our poop.
hmm
Yeah.
and there's even methods that they've talked about that could be done right at your house,
Hmm.
so it doesn't even exit out as poop water. It's already been contained and cleaned, and you're automatically releasing clean water back into the system.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we not doing this?
Yeah. Right.
Basically assign everybody 100 gallons of water, and they're recycling their own water. And
Yeah.
I just, nobody has put their heads together and said, hey, we got to fix this fast. They're just too busy riding the wave of, hey, let's make septic tanks and let's make money off of this, and that's it. And it's like, no, can we please improve that? Because
So maybe I'm sorry, but maybe perhaps you need to show the corporations how they can make money, how they can still thrive as a business, and with clean energy, clean farming, clean,
well, and
whatever.
like I said, that's the whole thing, because if we make them better farmers, they're going to produce more yields, which is more money.
Hmm.
And incorporating newer techniques. I mean, even reclaiming water, that should be something that should be mandatory.
Hmm.
Pick up as much water as you can during the rainy season, so that way during the dry season you got water and you don't have to reclaim water from our lakes or our other waterways that we need.
Yeah.
So, we need to start working on programs like that as well.
Hmm. And would these be funded by the government to the households? In your mind, do you hear like
You know what? Some of it would have to be to help out some of these farmers that need that help. But
to get it
if
going?
you can
Yeah.
afford it and you can help me get this going, great.
Mhm.
But we want to do everything we can to basically make it easier for you to not worry about where your water source is going to come, because you have enough stored already, ready to go.
Mhm.
And some of these storages can be done in a very something that can be hidden, or something that can be put aside, and nobody's going to realize that that's all your water for for
Mhm.
your agricultural needs. Because there's no reason why we shouldn't reclaim water. We get plenty of it when
Mhm.
it rains.
It's a lot of
When
runoff too. Yeah, I see like tons of water just going choof right down the street and into the bay. Seems to
yeah,
me it could be
it
collected.
could
Yeah.
be collected and just used for whatever needs you can, and that should be at every house level. It should be something that should be included with all homes.
Yeah.
Just start figuring ways to make homes more off grid possible, basically. If these homes had to be off the grid, how would they function? And
Mhm.
if we could do that and self-contain every home, then we've just turned this place green and everybody's going to be happy.
I think can I just say I think part of the problem is it's hard to get a permit to get an off the grid house. It's hard to get the permitting as a
Which is
homeowner.
stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of that too,
And
that people, they want you to stuck to the tit with FPL and all that.
exactly.
So
Yeah, so I wanted to build my own solar panels when I had a place up in Pinellas County, and I couldn't. I had to buy the stuff from FPL, I guess it was, and it's like, but I don't, you know, that's really expensive, and you're not giving me any breaks. I could build it and just put it right there, and it would work great. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. It's that control, the monopolies with the FPLs or the Seacos or Ticos or whatever electrical company that you deal with here in Florida. But it sucks, you have to deal with these things, but we need to start figuring out how to move forward. And they
yeah,
should still be able to operate and in that new capacity with the newer technology. They should be the ones offering the new technology to the people instead of me having to say, I got somebody else coming in. No, I wish FPL would say, hey, homeowners, let's figure out how to get you guys off the grid using our new technology. Like that would make more sense to me in the sense that you're trying to be a more progressive power company.
hmm
And if we could get them to do stuff like that, I think would be ideal. I mean, look, think about the cigarette companies. For years, they were preparing for the marijuana industry. They've bought up most of these farms in California and all these places. They're the ones that own a lot of that stuff. So Marlboro is huge into the marijuana industry.
can't sell cigarettes, so
Yeah,
we,
so we're gonna sell weed. Like, that should be the same thought with the energy companies. Like, hey, if I'm gonna have to give this up over here, I got to figure out how I'm gonna make my money. Then we should be progressing into this newer technology, so that way we still control energy, but we're
yeah.
not really producing energy. We're letting the people produce it themselves.
Well,
That would be a
yeah,
no-brainer to me because that would be like, come on, that's just business 101. How do you move ahead into a more subscription based type of thing where, hey, you're subscribing to us to just basically come make sure that your shit is working and that's it.
yeah. So they can like an automobile lease. Would it work like that, where they lease you a system for your house? You give them whatever it is, just like a car loan. You just here take the car and you make your payments, and they're still making money, and you've got an off the grid system, and oh, guess what? There's a storm, and only one guy's got hit by lightning, and everybody still has power. Wouldn't that?
And it's less for them to take care of,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
too.
Just
Less
replace the
equipment,
guy.
less
Yeah.
things like that. It turns it into more like people need to start figuring out how to move their businesses into the future. And
Mhm.
like how taxis were basically taken over by Uber, or how delivery services were taken over by Door Dashes, and all these different business models that were basically replaced because, hey, Netflix took over from Blockbuster and all
Right.
those things. So it's the progression of business, and I believe that it's time for the energy companies to start realizing it's time to progress, and
Yeah.
let's move into the future. Let's figure out how to make homes sustainable.
Yeah.
uh,
Sell a package, an off the grid package. It's basically a boat system. It's a sailboat system. With
they should basically be power brokers, power engineers, power
yeah.
people who basically teach you how to run your home electricity without them being the ones providing anymore. Imagine not having to maintain all that cabling, being able to remove all that cabling, because that
Cut all
cabling,
those trees down for telephone poles,
oh
electric
God,
poles, and
the amount
whatnot.
of homes that they could build with all those poles too for the homeless.
Hmm.
So,
And so on and so forth. Well,
there's so many things that could be done differently, but yeah, it's just
so how are you going to be able to do that if when, let's say, when you get into office? How are you going to nail it? How are you going to pull those people? You call up FPL and say, with your position, how can you make a
you
difference?
know what, you could influence and you could talk to them and you could get them to the table, because they're kind of stuck having to come to the table with you. And
Mhm.
even though I don't control the energy department anymore as the commissioner, that was removed from Nikki Fried. I would love to make sure that we get a Democratic governor in there so I could get that back under my watch, and actually even get back and even get the cybersecurity department over under my watch, because I'm better suited for control of that than anything else.
Mhm.
But we need to make sure that we get the Department of Energy back, because we could actually make a difference by making these suggestions. Like, how do we move you ahead into the future instead of sitting here holding on to old technology, because that's what they're doing.
Mhm.
uh, I mean, power grids, power electrical stuff hasn't really gone through much improvements in the last century. It's maybe had a few improvements here or there, but for the most part, it's still the same old, you know,
Edison's concept. Yeah.
ground positive negative.
Hmm.
Nothing has changed from that, and you're using copper wiring most of the time for
Right.
you're running
Plug
through
it
your house.
into that. Plug it in
Yeah.
over there. Yeah, and we'll send you some.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
meanwhile, there's technology that doesn't even require copper wiring.
Hmm.
It's just all wireless and just basically an energy field that surrounds your house and powers everything.
Tesla's
So
coil field. Coil
yeah,
gen.
like
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
doing things right because we're too busy holding on to ancient technology basically across the board in every sector. If we start figuring out how to move into the future and stop holding on to old ways, we
Mhm.
might actually get somewhere and improve this place fast.
Yeah.
So,
But it
call
won't
me.
change as long as somebody's making money doing it, right? I mean, the oil companies are still making money. They're still
But
killing
look,
each other for oil, and so
but it's stupid because like I see people like even plumbers. I've seen plumbers. Their technology has improved. Their methods have improved. They're doing things new. Like why can't we be like that? They're doing some amazing rehab work on redoing like pipes that get broken. They're able to like insert stuff that all of a sudden as soon as they're done with it, it rehardens and you got a new pipe and like that's some cool stuff to me. Like we need to do the same with our roads. I know over in Sweden and places like that, they have what they call regenerative concrete. Basically, if you won't have any potholes in these countries because the concrete self heals itself. Why don't we have that here? Like with the amount of potholes that I see just on my drive out of my road, like come on, like that would have been so necessary and so needed. But no, instead we have terrible roads because they're using subpar materials just to keep a job, I guess. You know, I guess they want to keep working, but I would rather you guys work on new instead of having to constantly be fixing the old. It's
Mhm.
kind of annoying because, these roads never seem like they're fixed because they're constantly just breaking and it's traffic and people, I guess people haven't really figured out ways to make that any better here. But like I said, there's new technology available all over the place.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
People have come up with so many ingenious ways of doing things. I mean, even with nature, even with like mushrooms, I'm seeing people creating like replacement to styrofoam packaging through mushrooms or creating furniture out of mushrooms. Like
That's new to me. I haven't heard that. Bamboo is huge. I mean, there's so much you can do with bamboo. And
with
hemp also. Hemp is amazing.
all three of those are bioremediation plants, so you could use them to actually clean up the mess that's been going on too. But like with mushrooms, you could train mushrooms. I didn't know that. You can train them to grow into spaces and they will grow and form these molds that you could actually make furniture out of them that you could sit on and it's perfect. And it's like, wow, this was made with mushrooms? Yep.
That's. I need to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's so interesting the world of mushrooms I got introduced to, and it all just basically started from me talking about psychedelic mushrooms because I discovered that you could actually cure people's opioid addiction with microdosing, and it'll be cured in 24 hours. Like,
Really.
yeah,
Huh.
nothing that's going to take forever. It actually gets done really fast, and they lose all those urges that you normally would get off the, when you're coming off of it, all
Hmm.
gone.
Hmm.
So, I see that as a great way to get a lot of these vets, a lot of these people who, help people that are stuck in opioids because they had some sort of accident or something,
Hmm.
get them off that junk. It's terrible. That pharmaceutical stuff is bad. So I found out that mushrooms was a great option. And I started looking into it more. I had people introduce me more into the world of mushrooms. I found out all these other great things that they're doing with them. And really, the other thing too is just it's a viable food source, much
Hmm.
more sustainable than anything else, and it gives you the nutrients that you need.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that people need to look at.
It's a great source of protein. Yeah. If you're going vegan, beans and
Vegan or
mushrooms.
keto, or yeah, keto or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, big pharma is to blame for a lot of that, pushing opioids on people, and it sucks because they've made themselves immune from any more lawsuits, which is just terrible because they've ruined lives, killed people for what? For greed. That was
Yep.
the Purdue's, right? Yep.
Yep. There's, yeah.
So
And we could. Yep. There's the health insurance industry also that doesn't want to pay to have your back fixed or your injury fixed, so they'll just
No, and it sucks because I remember that transition where you actually had doctors that cared and did their job to what we got the current system where I just feel like I'm being herded through and I'm just another number, and I'm like, man, this isn't healthcare anymore either.
Yeah.
This sucks, but welcome to our world now, right?
Yep.
The current norm.
Yep. I'm on my way to Massachusetts to have my eyes surgery on my eyes for the second time because I had the first one done here and it didn't go so well. So
oh boy.
I'm up here getting it fixed. And that's all I'll say about that because we're on TV. But it's night and day. The quality of healthcare in Massachusetts is just there's no.
Awesome. So I guess we got 5 more minutes. What would you say to people about me and the experience that you've just had?
Well, I think you've got a plethora of ideas. I love that. Somebody who's thinking all the time, and you have a lot of background that's going to give you the ability to work with people. You really well spoken. I mean, one of my, even being a musician, I have a saxophone stuffed in my mouth, so I never have to talk to people like this. So I'm a little nervous here, but
I was a drummer and I played records. So
right?
Yeah. So I was used to being the one in the back, but I had to be loud. So.
Yeah, you're fearless. You're saying things on TV here, in the podcast. That's you could come up against. You're going to come up against very big players who want things to stay the way they are. So I commend your courage and your wisdom, and I think you've got the chutzpah to make this happen. I wish you well. I'm going to try to push you as much as I can in the next few weeks and get some people to see who you are. Say, awesome. This is an option. This is a good option. Give it a shot. Why not? There you are. You're a farmer. You're a businessman. You're a son of an immigrant or an immigrant. Are you actually?
No, I was actually born in New York, but my parents are both from Colombia.
From Colombia. Oh, Colombia. That's where all my staff was from. Medellin. Well, there you go.
Both my parents are both from Colombia, and then our background as well there in Colombia is indigenous. So I'm 50-50 basically. So I'm 50% indigenous, and the other 50% is a big old mix of different things from Europe and Africa and all these other things. So I have a little bit of everything.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do have to give more respect to my indigenous side because that's really the biggest chunk of what I am, and I'm happy to, really celebrate that because not many people do celebrate their indigenous background, and we should. It's really it's interesting, and it's more fulfilling to feel that we're helping bring back the old ways and making sure that we save the land and do what we got to do to protect people.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you and be part of your show. And I will make this available to as many people as I possibly can. And you already have my vote. I already filled out my ballot and sent it in. So
thank you, Celeste. Well, thank you for the early vote. Thank you for the vote by mail and doing the right thing. And thank you for exercising the right to vote because that's very important here.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you for joining me tonight. This was excellent. We had fun, and I'd like to do more of these and bring on people to really get to know me better. So this is kind of like my beer moment with everybody.
Awesome.
And that's funny thing is that people usually say that you're the type of guy we'd love to have a beer with. Meanwhile, I'm like,
I would have a beer with you. You got a beer? I have one beer.
Usually I'm the guy stuck with this. It depends, but. Beer is the one thing that I'll do maybe once a year, funny enough, because I normally don't drink. I haven't really had alcohol in 15 years, and if I do have a sip, I'm like, it doesn't excite me like it used to. I guess I did it for too much, too quick at an early age while as a DJ and performer that I just like bored me after a while. And I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to throw up anymore.
Yeah. It's nice to be clear. It's nice to,
Yeah.
there's a high to being totally clear. I mean, it's so hard for us to be, not have any toxins, with environment and culturally. Yeah. You go out and have a drink and it's hard to get to a place where you're really clean. But when you get there, it's,
Oh, it's so much different. My life has been so much better. I'm more focused. I'm definitely not making mistakes like I used to. And and a lot of people do stupid things when they're drunk. Thankfully, there was no evidence of that because I
right.
grew up in the '90s. So we didn't have
No one noticed.
we couldn't take pictures with the pagers just yet.
Well,
But no, I mean, I didn't really do anything crazy. It was just because of where I worked and where I was. I got to see a lot of funny stuff and a lot of
yeah.
stuff that, I get to tell my kids and hopefully my grandkids about the funny things that Daddy saw when he was younger.
Yeah. It's definitely part of the norm in the restaurant, bar, uh, club culture. Being a musician,
Yep, it's all fun.
you can't get away from it.
All right. Well, thank you, Celeste, for a great talk. It has been a pleasure to speak with you this evening. I know the only thing I tell people is just make sure that, you donate and get to helping out the campaign because that's one of the biggest things that we need right now is making sure that we're doing all the right thing. If you want to check me out on Facebook, it's Morales for FL. Twitter, same thing, Morales for FL. Instagram, it's actually Ryan for Florida. And if you want to donate, do donate.ryanforflorida.com. So thank you very much, Celeste. And thank you, everybody, for being here and hanging on for an hour. So thank you again and good night.
Okay. Good night. Take care.